This afternoon's program is going to be carried forward both in terms of moderating and facilitating the panel and the dialogue by Julian Faulkner. Julian is a lawyer called in Ontario, and he currently serves in the position of legal counsel to the Office of the Independent Special Interlocutor. He has, for many decades prior to his taking that position, however, represented many Indigenous communities and community members in both Northern and Southern Ontario. It is with great welcoming that the title of this afternoon's program is to invite and welcome the Indigenous community perspective, Indigenous laws, and the colonial legal system. This is a rather large topic, but one that we must embark upon. Julian, if I can now turn over the panel to you and your trusted words.
Thank you, Kathleen. Miigwech, merci. Good afternoon. I am honored as legal counsel to the Office of the Independent Special Interlocutor to humbly offer my services to moderate this afternoon's panel. The title of the program you will see is Indigenous Community Perspectives, Indigenous Laws, and the Colonial Legal System. So when you get a fancy title like that, you have fancy expectations, and they won't be disappointed. Our guests that we have today are, I think, going to provide us a compelling and interesting perspective on the realities around asserting and insisting on the Indigenous way prevailing, and the challenges those who face the reality of what they call Aboriginal law, which is the white man's law from the colonial system. You're going to hear a contrast and a discussion around the challenges inherent in them. What you're not going to hear is the lawyer talking too much. So we're going to try to quickly cut to introductions of our panel members and get into discussions. The program has the bios of these honorable folks, but I will quickly do the introductions. So first of all, and I want you to know this, that for the Mohawk mothers up here are Guatio and Cantaneda. But that is not enough if you're the Mohawk mothers. So this whole table needs to stand up and be acknowledged. Please, mothers, please rise. And anthropologists, please rise for the Mohawk mothers. Thank you. From Isle La Crosse, I am honored, and we are honored, to be joined today by both Emile Janvier, a survivor of Isle La Crosse Residential Boarding School, and Jordan Burnoff, an advisor to the Métis Nation, Saskatchewan. The La Crosse contingent, you're out there, I know it. Could you stand, please, so we acknowledge the people that support them? Thank you so much. In my role as lawyer, I'm really supposed to just establish how completely unhelpful my profession is when truly talking about Indigenous law, the Indigenous way. 34 years of practice has taught me two things. One, I'm old. But two, maybe I didn't learn everything in law school. Maybe there's an entire humanity that I never really understood as a professional. So what I'm hoping is that the discussion today sheds light on that tension. So let's begin with Emil and Jordan. Isle La Crosse Residential Boarding School was finally shut down in the 70s. Emil, could you give us some opening words, or Jordan, and tell us about your journey in respect of colonial laws versus Indigenous law?
All right, Tanse, how's everybody doing? Emil said ladies first, so I'll start and share a little bit about our journey. So as our moderator explained here, I've been working with the Métis Nation Saskatchewan for about a year and a half, and through that work, I'm sure you've seen on the stage the past few days quite a few Isle La Crosse faces, and so I just want to start by really acknowledging Kim Murray and the special interlocutor and her team for really giving us a platform to be able to share our story and the work that we've been doing, and the story that has not been heard, has not been listened to by the people that can help to make a real difference in this. And so thank you to Kim for providing us this space. So, a year and a half ago, I just started working with this group, but Emil can speak to this a little bit better, but they've been around for about 30 years, the Isle La Crosse Survivors Committee. And the Isle La Crosse Residential School has been around for over 158 years. I'm from Isle La Crosse. My cookum, Irene Desjardins, she attended the school along with Emil and Margaret and the other survivors, and so this holds a very special place in my heart and in my life. And so I've had the opportunity to work with them for the past little bit here, and in that short time, I've witnessed some incredible resiliency and some profound words, and so they've been doing this for about 30 years, and initially there was a class action lawsuit filed against the Saskatchewan and Canadian government, originally against Saskatchewan. So Louis Gardner came up and spoke a few days ago, and he shared a little bit about Isle La Crosse's history as being, a historic Métis community. And so when we talk about jurisdiction and where that fits in the context of what we know as Canada, Isle La Crosse is a municipality. And so a part of our lawsuit that was filed had to be with the province. And so this is part of the issue that you'll find when we're telling our story, is jurisdiction has been kind of the crux of the issue. The provincial government and the federal government has been playing this game of football, passing the ball back and forth, saying you're responsible for this school, you're responsible for this school, and so on and so forth. So 158 years ago, more than that, this school is older than Canada. This school is older than the province of Saskatchewan. And that harm goes back 7 generations. And, for me, I can only look back at the few generations of my grandparents, because we don't even have that history to follow our family and to follow our lineage and the impact that it's actually had. And we just received more news that some of our records have actually been destroyed. And so, that's also another part of our fight here in terms of, the colonial legal system that's supposed to be here to help us. So 30 years ago, this group started. About 15 to 17 years ago, they filed a lawsuit against Saskatchewan. That sat in court and has never actually been filed or certified. There was a very, and I'm just gonna be straight up with you all, that there was a very scummy lawyer who took the trust of our survivors and said, I'm gonna help you. And for 17 years, this man did nothing. And so this past year, our incredible survivors said, you know what, you're out of here, you're done. And so they fired him. Yeah. And we have a new set of lawyers who we've hired, and they've been incredible, and our group has been able to make leaps and bounds now in being able to file this action in court. So we filed a new class action suit from the survivors against Saskatchewan and against Canada. And what we're asking for at this point is, you know, obviously compensation to support the survivors right now back home from a number of communities. We just had a survivors gathering, and we brought together the survivors that are living, that had attended and stayed at the boarding school. Saskatchewan calls it boarding school. Our survivors call it a residential school because that's what it was. We had about 400 survivors gather with us in Saskatoon, and there's about 700 living survivors. And so we had this group together. We talked about the legal case, and I won't get into the legalities of things because I can't speak legalese, you know. But at this point, we're kind of at a place right now where, you know, we need to find funding, we need to find resources, and we need to continue to move and push this forward. And so we have, you know, our helpers like Kim and her team helping to push this. And so that's just kind of the background on things. And I guess our next steps moving forward are, you know, we need to see some action from Saskatchewan. We need to see some action from Canada. They're gonna pull up a photo. We just had a meeting last summer with Minister Miller, you know, where we had the opportunity to discuss, survivors had the opportunity to discuss their experience, but also to discuss what they want to see from the Canadian government. And that has been really like the only willing partner in this. We still have not seen any action, but in terms of Saskatchewan, we got another letter stating they don't want to meet with us because, you know, we now have this new litigation. And you know, if you know anything about Saskatchewan, again, I'm going to be very frank with you. We have a very racist provincial government who doesn't want to see any action happen for us. And so that's kind of where we're at in terms of, you know, the legal process with everything. And so a big part of what we're doing is we're trying to raise awareness and really, really start putting pressure on the federal and provincial government to take action. And with your help, and with these big loud voices that we have from our survivors, we're seeing a shift. We're seeing some movement, you know. And we had survivors from other First Nations from Saskatchewan that literally chased Mark Miller out the door to say, "Do something for Isle of Cross." You know, we have those allies and we have those partners, and that's kind of where we're at right now. And I'll let Emil can speak so much more to kind of the historical presence of the school and the real impact of things. So I won't take up much more time. So thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. Thank
Carlo Uzalotina, tu tsenege milja fiushis. Marcy just on no hastia. Did anybody understand what I said? Well, I said my name is Emil Janvier, and I asked how's everyone, and given me the time to say what we have to say here. Like I didn't see any hands when I went to boarding school. When I got to Isle of Cross after being kidnapped from my family and taken to Isle of Cross, I spent the next 10 years there with my brother. And when we got there, like the only language we knew was the Dene language. And they were trying to communicate with us. And I was called stupid because I didn't understand and they didn't understand me. So when I got there, I took my education serious because I only had one chance at this. So I took my education seriously, and also my brother. And there was 3 of us at the end. I got 2 brothers left. There was 9 of us in the family. The only ones that got educated was myself, my younger brother, and two of my other brothers. And they says we took our education serious. After I left in Alacrosse, I moved back home and went to school for a couple more years. And then the first chance I had, I went to Moose Jaw for a job. And I spent the next 25 years working for the provincial government. I worked in an institution for the mentally and physically handicapped, where I started as a nurse's aide for 6 months, and then a janitor for about a year. And then I had a chance to go into the upholstery shop as a helper. And when I left Moose Jaw, my employment, I was the head of the upholstery shop when I left. And my other brother, he worked for the railroad for 35 years. He started as on a tie gang and worked his way to the roadmaster, they called him. And my youngest brother, he's a teacher, and he was all over. He was up in the territories, Alberta, Saskatchewan. But like Alacrosse was taking a lot out of our lives. Excuse me for breaking down. But like I said, I didn't want to be a trapper or a fisherman like my family was, because at the time there was a good living with trapping and fishing. And then at the age of 13, 14, my cousin Wapush, Joseph Janvier, the late Joseph Janvier, we said that the industry was good at that time when we were talking, but we said in the future there's not going to be any fishing. We'll be fishing, but you're not going to be able to make a living. And also the trapping industry was the same. And so, like I said, with the education that I got in Alacrosse, like I said, I took it serious. With that, I've been to the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and every province in between with the education. And last year, I had a chance to go to Rome with the delegation, and I met the Pope. And like my mom and dad were strong Catholics. And my dad always read the Bible. And one day he said, I wonder what it'd be like to meet the Pope and shake his hand. And little did we know that years later, that his son would meet and greet the Pope and deliver a message. And I think when we went to Rome, we made history. The first time the Dene language is ever spoken at the Vatican, and I did that. And and like I told when I said my dad was I think my dad had something to do with me making a trip to Rome, because when the delegations first started, everything was already a go. I didn't have my passport, I couldn't go, so. And then the COVID came in and canceled everything. So in the meantime, when this happened, I went and got my passport. Another elder was supposed to go, and he got sick, and last minute, I was asked if I could go. And by that time, I had my passport ready to go, and he gave me 6 days to get ready, to come from La Loche to Saskatoon and get on a plane, and which I did. And like I said, that was a thrill of a lifetime. And like my partner says, like, we're still waiting for compensation. Like, we've been fighting all our lives. Like, recognize us, we're people, and compensate us and say, you're sorry. The Pope said we were sorry, and like I said, we've made history. Like, we came back with an apology, and the Pope says he was going to come to Canada and to apologize, and he did, and that's why I feel like we made history when we went to Rome and delivered the message in my own language, which didn't exist. Like, it was a devil's language. And I spent 25 years in the city. I still speak fluent Dene. That's my language. And like, we can't lose our language. And we have to educate our younger generation of the pain, the suffering, the loneliness that we went through just to get an education, which is granted. That is that everybody takes, but we went through hell just to get an education. So thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the time.
Thank you, Emil. I'm sure I speak for everyone in this room when we honor you, who spent some 10 years in that school setting, when we honor your words and your courage. Now, we have heard about the journey you are embarking on in an effort to regain what was deprived, whether we speak of land or we speak of language. But so far, it's the resumption of a class action. In another part of the country, in the province of Quebec, on Mohawk land, the traditional land that is now called Mount Royal in Montreal, Quebec. In 2015, the Royal Victoria Hospital announced an $850 million redevelopment project. In that same year, a Mohawk mother known as Cantaneda, of legendary repute, I might add, issued a notice of seizure to McGill University because, of course, the land rests on Iroquoian village, which Cartier saw and chronicled in 1535. McGill built on it nevertheless. Therein started a battle. The Mohawk mothers raised concerns in November 2021 about potential children, their remains existing as unmarked burials. Those concerns were ignored. By March 2022, the mothers pushed back. They brought an application for an injunction. Guatillo is here today to tell you the start of that story. Guatillo?
Oh my goodness. Segwas a wagwego. Primarily, I'm surrounded by Gotnistan Sera, Danu Okwarago, Danu my husband. And we all pulled our knowledge together, and we knew we had to stop this project from happening and from them taking over a critical and most important place to us, our mother. And the only way that we could do that is using our original laws. And I was asked why we did this, and we sought to do this without a lawyer. And our answer was that we have no business using a lawyer, because a lawyer would just be a roadblock to Indigenous law. You see, in our ways, we have the Deohade. It's the Turo Wampum. And it's an agreement that was made long ago between the settlers and our peoples. And this wampum, it's a white wampum with two purple paths of wampum beads. And what this signifies is the relationship that was agreed upon between the Ungwehungwe people, our people, and the settler, the new settlers. And it was that we were to give them way onto this land. Only each person, we gave them only so much, only what they needed to help them be better and feed themselves. And they were to have their own way of conducting themselves. And the Ungwehungwe had our original way, which was Gayaneret Goa. And these two paths, these two peoples, these two separate peoples were to live in harmony with each other so long as they stayed within their own path. They were never to cross over and interfere in each other's ways. This path was one of a ship, and the other path was one of a canoe. And we were never to interfere in each other's business, never to interfere in each other's cultures and the way we conduct ourselves. Now, the Ganyagahaga Gotnistansera take this very seriously. It is our duty that we are born with as Gotnistansera under Gayeneret Goa. Our duty as Gotnistansera is to take care of Radiksa Oguma, the children of past, present, and Dehadi Sunduje, which means the faces to come. Now, when I talk about Gayenerde Gowa, this is our original way. Gayenerde Gowa is also known as the Great Law of Peace in English. So in Ngwehneha, which is our language, we don't have the word law. We work everything from nature. And this Gayenerde Gowa, which is our original path that the Rodonashuni follow, our principles that are in the Gayenerde Gowa are in line with creation. Creation depicts everything within this path. Within our language, you will find a lot of our ways and our rights to the land. Gayenerde Gowa doesn't mean the great law. It means the great good path. It's a cycle that we all are familiar with our seasons and with our life cycles. And that's what this is. Gayenerde Gowa is there to keep that cycle going in a harmonious way. It's a cycle to promote harmony, peace, power, and righteousness. It's not a law. It's not a law. With laws, you're given privileges and you're not free. We are free. Everyone in this room is free.
When you said to them, can you turn this on, please? When you said to the court that you didn't need a lawyer, and because I have the honor of intervening for the special interlocutor in that case, the court, the lawyers on the other side, for McGill, for the Royal Victoria Hospital, for the province of Quebec, brought a motion requiring you to have a lawyer. Am I right?
That's right. They brought this motion and handed us 800 pages of reasons why we needed to have a lawyer.
And what was the response of Gayenerde Gowa?
We just followed the truth. And we had a little problem because a lot of the words within their steps and all of the intricate details that they're giving us, there's a lot of words that we can't interpret into our language. So they asked us, and they didn't want us to represent ourselves because they wanted us to have a lawyer, and they can lawyer that lawyer, but they couldn't manipulate us because we were using Gayenerde Gowa.
And I'll tell you, this is the worst business model I could possibly use. And in addition to requiring you to have a lawyer, and they brought a motion and they failed, the judge saw it your way, Gayenerde Gowa prevailed. Am I right?
Yes.
In addition to that, they wanted you to speak in French. Am I right?
Yes. So we spoke in Ganyak Geha.
And so the lawyers who insisted on using their language when met by the Mohawk mothers with Mohawk compromised, and you all used English. Am I right?
Correct.
And so, in terms of how you proceeded, so everyone knows, and if you look at page 22 of your program, folks, you'll see, at page 22 of your program, you will see a photo that's dated October 27th, 2022, of the Mohawk Mothers, esteemed counsel Don Worm. What happened on that day?
On that day, we were successful. We won this portion of our case, that there was an injunction put on the project, and the whole $850 million project was halted. so we could find our babies.
Cantonetta, there are many who hear about Gwen Netagoa and understand what Gwatil means about the Indigenous way and ask the question, well, why would you be in a white man's court? Can you help us?
We went into the white man's court because the white man does not follow his laws. So we went in there and said, you must follow your laws. We're going to follow ours, and you're going to follow yours.
Why? Why did you do that?
Well, because they made all kinds, because we wanted to get our children. We wanted them. And we need to have them because it's part of our culture. We have to take care of our children and all our people who die. But in this case, the children have been taken from us, and we want them back so we can do what we want with them to complete our own lives and to make the world safe for the children we now have and the ones that are coming.
You are now in a court-directed mediation. In the room, we can't talk about confidentially what happens and is discussed in that room, and my client's sitting right over there, and she'll, give me a dirty look if I broke the rules, but I can tell you what we saw, can't we? 15 dark suits on behalf of the province of Quebec, the city of Montreal, the Royal Victoria Hospital, McGill University, all failed in front of the judge when they argued that these Mohawk mothers weren't real leaders. They argued that, didn't they, Cantoneta?
They don't understand who we are and what we are. The women are the progenitors of the soil. We bring the children onto our Mother Earth, and we have duties and responsibilities to take care of our mother. So each one of us is born to do that, and we have no choice but to take care of our mother and to take care of our children. So we had to go in as individuals using our own powers that we are born with to do what we're supposed to do, and that's why we're in there now, and we will not stop.
Now, the success you have had so far has resulted in efforts to now arrive at an agreement on an architectural plan, efforts to actually follow principles of both reconciliation and Guyane-Netagoa. I'm going to turn it over, if I may, back to Jordan, because Jordan, I want you to help us on how you compare the class action you're doing right now and the efforts to reconnect with land and language, how you compare the tools that you're using right now to what you're hearing from the Mohawk mothers. Can you help us on that?
Yeah, I can try. I just want to read a quote. It's from a book called The Wayfinders, Why Ancient Wisdom Matters in the Modern World. And for the record, this is not ancient wisdom, it's wisdom that we have now. And the quote goes, every language is an old-growth forest of the mind, a watershed of thought, an ecosystem of spiritual possibilities. And coming here and having the discussion with some of our survivors, I know we were all kind of a little like uneasy or intimidated maybe by, you know, the title of, you know, Indigenous law and colonial law and just legal systems in general. And, you know, we had a really good conversation yesterday with the Mohawk mothers and with our team. And I think what it really came down to, and Emil spoke to this as well, is the importance of language. And language comes from our land. And so we had to, you know, get out of our colonized mind and feel our power and understand that as Northerners, as people from, my community is Sagatawak, where the rivers open up, and Emil is the Deniswilane, the people of the land. And we had to realize, you know, our power lies in the language and the land. And the Mohawk mothers really helped us to feel that again and see that, and you know, this conversation became less intimidating, and we really were able to like feel empowered and understand, you know, that there's so much more that we have to do. And, you know, we opened up with, we want compensation, we want acknowledgement. And at our gathering last week, we had quite a few survivors stand up and say, well, what about the land? What about the impact? Like, I don't know if you know about Northern Saskatchewan, but as I mentioned, the historic Métis community of Isle Cross exists because it exists on a continental divide. So the water flows to the Hudson's Bay and the water flows up into the Arctic. And so our community was created for further Western expansion during the fur trade. And now in this time, one of our biggest global economies is the energy sector. And that is one of the biggest things that is displacing us from our land and that continues to harm our people and oppress our people. And that's in Northern Saskatchewan. A big part of it is uranium mining and the critical mineral sector. And so, you know, looking at those things, I think we really, really have to take a serious look at this class action lawsuit and how we move forward, you know, because what the Mohawk mothers are saying is like, you know, that is like bare minimum. That is like, it is so much bigger than we've ever imagined, and it's really opened our eyes to a lot of things. And you know, when we sat with Miller last year, we had the opportunity to tell him, like, the impact, the individual impact for people is one thing. The disconnection and displacement of human lives, of people's lives from their culture and from their language that's tied to that land, that is massive. And if Canada and if provinces had to answer to that, this whole country would be flipped upside down. You know, and us seeing our power and understanding the absolute ask that we have to go for. And sorry, scratch that. It's not an ask. It is an inherent right. And being able to understand and recognize that is our very bare minimum. So, hi, Knaskamtin to you for helping us.
Emil, did you have any comments?
Well, I'd just like to say that we'd like to get acknowledged that, like I says, we are people, and like we want to move on in life. Like it's a dark chapter in our lives that we want to put that to rest and go to bed without having to think of what happened. Like, we want an apology from the government for disrupting our lives. And like myself, I never really knew my family, my mom and dad, because of boarding school. Like I said, I worked for the government for 25 years, After 25 years, I moved back to La Loche because my dad had passed on and my mom was still alive. And I wanted to spend a few days with her. And then she passed on a year after we moved back to La Loche. So right now, thank you.
Now, I heard you, Jordan, and I hear you, Emil. That connection to language and law, that connection to language and the land, that connection that was stolen from you. The problem for the legal system, the problem for the colonial system, is that we're actually not built to rectify this. And so you see compensation claims by way of class actions, as an example, that create expectations, right? They create expectations that the wrong can be righted, but they do not restore the connection to language and land. They are a poor substitute. The title of this program, in other words, the title of this panel, the notion of Indigenous laws versus a colonial legal system, was actually the subject of a commentary by a judge recently, Justice Perel, and the chief of Iskatewazagagan number 39 obtained a court judgment in which the judge said the following 2 years ago in relation to his lands and his people. The judge said the following: "The law that governs the relationship between Canada and Aboriginal peoples of Canada is what is now known as Aboriginal law. Indigenous law is not the same as Aboriginal law. Both before and after the arrival of European settlers, the Aboriginal peoples in North America had well-developed civilizations that had legal systems and legal customs. Those discrete legal systems are the source of Indigenous law, the law that governs the first cultures as discrete civilizations or civil societies." Now, Justice Perel's words, recognizing Chief Lewis and his community of Iskatewazagagan 39's claim, is all about attempting to put words to Gayan Netagoa. What I would ask you, Gwadia, is what is the next step for what you're accomplishing where you are with the Mohawk mothers? What is the next step to enlightening and helping and supporting others across the country? You didn't know this question was coming, so.
I didn't, but I got it. First of all, the understanding needs to be made within our people that this system that exists, this settler court, these provincial and federal courts, are not made for us. They're made for that system to win. Their system was made to kill us and to take our mother. Creation must fix this. Our ways, our original ways, like Goyenerdetgoa, need to fix this. Man-made cannot fix this. Man is flawed. Nature isn't. And you know what they say, you can't beat nature, right? Well, nature is us. We belong on this land. This is our mother. Indigenous law has no place within Canadian law. Aboriginal law is in Canadian law. I'm not ab-original. I'm original. Now, there is a lot of education that needs to go on, and there's one thing that I told Jordan and Emil in the way that you conduct yourselves. You're always conducting yourself for those faces to come. You remember your attachment to the earth and what it gives you and how you have to fight for it. And I want to tell you this, what I told them. Stop asking and do your duty. Stop asking for scraps. Do your duties, use your original ways, and we're going to make it that our ways is the way of this land. Once again, we're going to make it strong. It never went away. It never went away. We're still here. We just have to make it stronger by asserting ourselves. Yes, we do a lot of talking and going places and promoting and such, but we have to put pen to paper. We have to take steps. We have to be in uncomfortable places to get stuff done. Comfort is the devil. What a word to use. But comfort is what made us, we were put under duress, and then we were given monies to subside us. Well, now it's time to be uncomfortable. It's time to assert our own laws, like Gayaneret Goa. Look it up. It is written, it's not meant to be written, but Gayaneret Goa is a way of nature. And within there is everything, and it evolves with our times, it evolves with factors, it evolves with evolution, it evolves with different circumstances. We need to use that, our original, because nobody can take that away from you. That all comes from creation on Turtle Island, Anuarege. Next, we're going to create this example. We're going to win in this court case. We're going to go all the way, and we're going to win this court case, and it's going to pave the way.
Thank you, and miigwech and merci. And what we're going to do is we're going to open it up to questions. But as we open it up to questions, I just want to recap a few themes. What we heard from Isle à la Crosse is that they are fighting back, that they have started or renewed class action, but they worry that it will not meet their need to reestablish their connection to language and land. What we heard from Cantonada and the Mohawk mothers is they went to court not to require the white man to follow Gayan-Netegoa, but to require the white man to follow his own rules to protect your children. So we're going to open the floor up now to questions. We'll take a minute to allow people to assume the microphones. I know Kathleen's going to help me through this because I have no idea what I'm doing. How do we pick who's going to ask the questions? Numbered. Excellent. This is where I put my glasses on? Fantastic. All right. I can actually see a number 1, so we're okay. That would be you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I always knew I was number 1. And I thank you, Mr. MC, because my friend and colleague stood here before lunch and was never called. Maybe that's why they put the number up.
That's it.
My name is Jackie Bouvier, 3rd generation survivor of the first of all, Beauval Residential School. My mom attended there, my grandma attended there. I attended Alacross Residential School for 5 months. Then I went home and the priest accepted for me, as I was a Métis, to attend the Indian Residential School. I agree with the language and the land. I have 2 baby sisters buried somewhere in Beauval Residential School. And I am stuck in between that they didn't die in the residential school. We don't know. My mom lived till she was 92. She spoke 5 languages. She was an orphan. She was in the Beauval Residential School all the years. So I am saying, is the Métis, if they win this case, can they help me find my 2 baby sisters?
Hello? Yeah, I think that's like a big part of the plan right now, is that we want to start looking into ground penetrating search and that whole process for the Isle of Cross Residential School. And then the Métis Nation Saskatchewan is also working on a residential school survivors commission, which is being developed right now. So definitely, Jackie, that is a part of the plan, is to help bring our babies home. We're just in the very early stages of learning and building this to be able to help people in the best way.
They're in the First Nations. So is that going to be a problem?
No,
Oh.
that has never been a problem. So with the Isle of Cross School, it's been said First Nations, Métis students, even the little Muniao babies that had attended are all a part of this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Microphone number 2 over here.
That'll be me. Ani Kinawaya. My name is Brian Lucinaway. I'm from Sagamok First Nations. This is in Ontario, Northern Ontario. This is a story I've been following. It's out in Manitoba, just outside of Brandon, Manitoba. There's a park, like a trailer park where people come for the week or maybe a couple of days. It's a leisure park. Now the problem is that area has been a burial ground for these 3 First Nation places around there, and this person is not letting go at all, and they're not moving anywhere. Nothing's happening. The government says we can't do anything about it. The federal government is saying that it's not our territory; it's Manitoba's problem. Now, I would like, I'm just following the story. It's been ongoing. In fact, it's dying. I don't think it's going anywhere. And the Anishinaabe over there are losing. So I think the Mohawk mothers have to go over there and help them out. Miigwech.
Is there a Mohawk mother's vehicle? You're going on the road.
When my broom gets out of the shop.
Microphone number 1.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Mike Archie from Canham Lake, British Columbia. I just want to give acknowledgement for the First Nations here for hosting us here. It's good, and for all my consultants that are here, I also want to acknowledge Chief Roseanne from the Kamloops Indian Band. She's here today, and more of who I am is that I've come from First Nations, and I have a BA in Fine Arts and a major in First Nation Studies. I was raised by my grandmother, and I was raised by my mother, So I do hold some of these weapons in Makalmuk, the Kalmuk the weapons Chin, the Kokan Chin, is some of the language that we have in our Shuswap nation. The opportunity to walk in both worlds of Western education and as well as First Nations. And following along the history of Aboriginal people and the relationship between Canada and the Aboriginal people, it's been a hard road to travel on, and the history is not been a good one. And you know, I hear our elder up there speak about, you know, in his voice I could hear, you know, the pain that's there. In my community back home, I have a grandfather that did not come back. So just to hold myself together here and look at it on a larger perspective, where our people need to move forward in healing. And there's blocks like that, where our grandfather's out there laying on the land, but he cannot identify where and who. So I think those are some of the things that we really need to do. You know, our children were displaced from our communities. Our parents lost their parenting roles. Our grandfathers and our grandmothers lost the ability to transfer some of the knowledge and some of the songs and dances. But we need to be able to get past that traumatic event, and people need to understand where their grandfathers are. So we're looking at the way to move forward through the DNA process to be able to identify our children that are out there. And that needs to happen sooner or later, because that's one of the roadblocks that's in our way to healing in our communities, and it's the most important. You know, there's a lot of good work that's been done here, and I'm really thankful to be here for a couple of minutes to be able to bring those things forward so that our people can no longer be locked. It was so hard to hear the 215 in Kamloops and then the 94 in St. Joseph's Mission. My brothers and sisters went to school there, you know, and my relationship within my family was broken. And it's hard having a sister next to me that we're distant because she went to that school. We didn't grow up learning all the things that we need to learn as a family. It was so disruptive. And, you know, we need to be able to heal ourselves, be able to see and carry on our role and our obligations to our children. I raise a 8-year-old granddaughter today, and I pass those songs, I pass that language with her, and I take her to ceremony, because those are my responsibilities that I have for my grandchildren. And it was impacted by the residential school, by the government's, the anti-potlats law, that we couldn't practice those in our past. And that's the responsibility that I take to teach my granddaughter the things that I know my grandchild, all my grandchildren, and my sons and daughters. But, you know, those are the things that we really need to look at to move forward. So I just want to say thank you again. I really enjoy the speakers and the presentations here, and the ability to get up here and share with you some of the things that we need to look forward to. Because the history, we know we need to learn our history, where we come from, and we need to know who we are and where we're going. So much of it is right, it's in our language. I know the names of the places where I come from. My elders told me as a chief, he said, you got to remember that. Always tell the people where you're from. And, you know, the town 100 Mile House, for instance, Palmetka, Canham Lake, we talk about, ask the people of Broken Rock. I know where the Kamloops is because my brother standing next to me is here from there. And those are the things where our roots come from, our ties to our land, our ties to legends are there. I have those too. Cookstram, all my relations.
Miigwech, merci. We are honored by your strength and your bravery for speaking. Thank you. Mic number 2.
Help.
Oh, wait a minute. I apologize. There's a 3. I apologize. Wave your arm, 3.
How are you doing? In order to speak, you have to wave 3 arms. Please go ahead.
I'm glad you learned.
Number 3, thank you.
Yeah, number 3. First of all, I want to say Sagoli to everybody. My name is Cliff Summers. I'm from Oneida. I'm from Onyadaag is what we refer to our people, people of the Standing Stone. And I guess I want to, first of all, acknowledge and thank the presentations that were made. You know, I wanted to point out that this is, as we know and have been hearing throughout the 4 days that we've been here, or 3 days that we've been here, we're upholding Indigenous law. And to the point that was made earlier, I think it's important to remind Canada to uphold their law. It was just said in the presentation. You know, the Prime Minister used to be fond of saying Canada upholds the rule of law. They do not. Not when it comes to our people. They do not uphold the rule of law. You know, we're here after the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and their report. And then last year, the Prime Minister announced this office of the Special Interlocutor. And, you know, the fact that we're searching for our missing children on the unmarked graves and burial sites. And so despite the fact that these are very important and necessary initiatives, still the government went to the international community. They went to the International Commission for Missing Persons. That came up yesterday in the discussion. And so, I mean, if we're going to talk about upholding our law, we have to remind Canada to uphold their own law. And, you know, so we have very well-established and defined relationships through the TRC and through this process. And so there's no reason to have to go to the Netherlands to ask them to do something. I mean, we're not even ready for what they're supposed to do. And there are other laws. In fact, the churches call it the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill is one of the important laws that, you know, gets overlooked. And we need to focus the idea that if they're expecting us to uphold our laws, then, you know, we're going to hold them accountable to uphold their own. And last fall, I in 2018, I created an organization called the Indigenous Justice Network. And one of the things that we set out to do as an organization, and so last fall, we had the World Conference Against Genocide. And so I expect that we're going to do this as long as it's necessary, because, you know, we have to hold Canada accountable for genocide. The churches were the ones who had to carry out and implement the policy in the residential schools. The RCMP were the ones that enforced the policy. So there's a lot of reckoning. There's a lot of accountability that has to be. I mean, I see all of this, and for full transparency, I'll acknowledge that the reason why I'm here, and I'm grateful, I'm here is a member of the Indigenous Justice Advisory Group for the United Church of Canada. So they're the ones that sponsored me to be here, so I appreciate that. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, that's what really this is all about. It's about coming together, finding things that we can do together to help to resolve these issues that are, I mean, heartbreaking. You know, right now, Canada is very engaged in support of Ukraine because of the invasion by Russia. And so the whole world is rallying to support the Ukrainian people, as they should be. And for that, I'm in support and I applaud them. But, you know, our children who supposedly went to school, and the residential schools have, you know, unmarked graves that are, who you don't hear of that. You can maybe research everywhere around the world where there has been conflict, but they don't have unmarked graves. I mean, that's a law. That's a law that the, you know, Christian people have about, you know, if there's some discussion about, I mean, I'm not Christian, I'll admit that. So I know that it's a Christian ethic that you have to, when you die, you should be buried, you should have a proper burial. So how come we have what's going to be, we don't know what the number is, but obviously we know that the thousands that have been found so far are put in unmarked graves. And so if it was the residential schools that were run by the many denominations of Christian churches who have an ethic, who have a rule, and I don't know if it meets the test of a law, but you know, how come they're unmarked graves? I don't think that's even, it's certainly not acceptable by Christians, for Christians. How can that be allowed? And anyway, I'm kind of just going on and on. Sorry, but I just wanted to, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your words. Thank you very much. And Cantonetta, you wanted to say something in response. Right here. I've got it. Here you go.
Thank you very much. I would like to refer to the comments that were made yesterday by Kimberly Murray. And she said pretty clearly that, and we have, you know, we're having all this experience in the court ourselves, and we're seeing it ourselves that Canadian law and what it stands for and what it does is done. It's finished. And because it's full of secrecy and abuse of people, allowing abuse, and we've all gone through all kinds of abuse. Our families have. And I'm being careful about what I say because we're in court. So, so it protects certain people, as we know, and we're not going to open, well, I don't want to say that it protects the criminals, but, you know, that's what it does. Anyway, so everything has...
But you said it anyway.
I did say it, yes. Yeah, so I think everything, all laws, should be framed by us. You know, this is our land. Turtle Island is our land. Let's get on with it. Let's get on with what we're supposed to do. And anything that's going to happen in the future from now on, we got to have a say, because everybody all over Canada says we are now unceded indigenous land, and then they just go ahead and do whatever they want. So this is, this is a lot at stake, and our children are watching us. They know all that now. They see it. They see it everywhere, that everybody's saying, oh, this is indigenous land. And then they see that nothing's being done, and nothing is being put right. And they're waiting for us to do something. So what are we going to do? Talk about it? Is that what we're going to do? We have to assert ourselves and not be confined to Canadian laws. We have to look at our own, because all of Turtle Island is covered by the Guyana Goa, which is the law of creation. You all live in different parts of the country. You have different kinds of land. You have mountains. You have, places with a lot of, ranch lands, and then you have all kinds of land. It's so beautiful and wonderful. Our mother is so beautiful. So what we have to do is assert ourselves, and we have to, and we all have, we've all been placed on a certain part of Turtle Island, and we are supposed to work on that particular part of Turtle Island and do what we're supposed to do, which is take care of it. We're the caretakers, and we have to help our mother. She is in real need right now. So that is what I think would help answer that. If we all looked at all the places that we come from, where we live, and we see what's happening to our mother, how she's being violated and raped. And here we're looking at what happened to our children. We can never let that happen again. Never.
Thank you, Cantoneta. And when she says, I probably shouldn't say that, this is the same woman who is quoted in her bio as, quote, I'm not very diplomatic, and I've been in jail for that. So, mic number 2.
Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge the speakers that delivered a phenomenal information to us, especially the lady, I can't say your name, but you gave me goosebumps when you spoke, because I know how much courage and strength it takes when you go to court, because you really have to be strong. And the Mohawk mothers are very strong women. I just want to take a bit of your time. I acknowledge time. I respect time. Time is a gift, and the time that you're giving me here to share some information, I truly appreciate. My blood relative spoke yesterday, John Burrows, from our community, which is 3 hours from here north, Niashingaming, Cape Croker English name, when he said we are agents of the law, not objects of the law. That fits right into this conference. I want to acknowledge OCI for doing a wonderful job, Kim Murray, Wendy Laver. I always said it's not an easy task, and we do all have to work together. We're stronger in numbers, and there's not very many of us in Canada. And all of us that worked on a settlement agreement in its day with the apology of the Prime Minister, we all knew what it was going to take to explain to our people all the complexes in that agreement, which took 100 lawyers in secrecy. I can't imagine what they went through. But I wanted to lead into the segue of the gentleman that was here, because throughout the conference we've been shedding a lot of tears and seeing elders cry and our people cry. You know, it makes me cry I must have had, I don't know how many cries. But we all learn here that crying is good. There's a chemical in your body that it's the only way it can be released is through tears. If there's a medical person here, help me out what that chemical is. But my name is Jennifer Wood. My spirit name is Wathia Binukwe. I come from Niashingaming. I work at the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation. I'm the Commemoration and Community Engagement Officer. What I wanted to share was a small one-time grant that we offer in partnership with Canada Parks, and it's a grant called Nimakwenamak Fund, I Remember Them Fund. It's for $10,000. Communities can apply as long as you're a nonprofit. However you want to heal, honor, acknowledge, and support your survivors, however you feel, you can apply. It's only a 3-page application. That's why I was trying to get on before lunch, because I wanted people to see where I'm sitting so I could help you, that anybody that wants to come and talk to me, I'll walk you through it and help you to apply. Everyone across Canada, my colleague here, Storm, we get the applications in the office. We're answerable to a regional advisory group, and some of them are here, Terry Brown, Edna Elias, Doreen Bedard, and others. We take it to them, we screen it, we take it. It's not a complicated process. We also have a fund, another streamline, which is under Canada Parks, to have a commemoration. Again, it's for $10,000. And we know that across Canada, we're all wanting to commemorate and honor our survivors. I know it's a small fund, but I'm very passionate working for survivors. I'm a survivor myself, a third generational, grandmother, mother, 5 siblings, Spanish Ontario. I know all about how a survivor feels, and I want to dedicate my time and energy to do what I can. My vision is to make it into a permanent fund, because I don't believe that we should be a one-time fund to heal ourselves. I believe that we should lobby the government to have it accessible however much time we need, because we are just starting to heal. We're starting to talk. We're finding our voices. It wasn't easy for any survivor to find our voices. So I want anyone that wants to come and talk to me, I want to give you the information. We're holding a national conference in Winnipeg, August 29th to the 31st. We're already looking at cutting off the time and the numbers, but for those that want to register, come and see me, give me your email, and we'll register you. It's a free event.
Thank you very much. Our only problem is you've got people lining
We've
up.
confirmed Dr. Gabor Mate. So I just want to thank you all for listening. Thank you for giving me the time. Chimigwech.
Chimigwech, thank you very much. So I see at the back number 3, and I apologize, we have time. I'm being told we only have time for one more question. I see, I think, an elder at mic number 3, and I want to give you an opportunity to speak. And I apologize to others. I'm very sorry about that. We're just running out of time. So if mic number 3 can be turned on, please go ahead.
Koyan namin ang iyumin ino katika ilitangayapsi aliana itagbanin napsi. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to speak. Earlier, I had heard the statement here today that the Mohawk women failed. Who were the raiders? Who raided them? My question is, who did the findings? Did they not come from a womb of a mother? I'm supporting the Mohawk women because I'm a woman. Plus, from my culture, there had always been a respect for both genders. they respect each other so much that each had set of skills. Women had their own, men had their own. And that's how we were taught. The other question I have is for the Métis. I hope they win their court case, because often I'm so confused about the Charter of Rights, the Constitution of Canada. I do remember the Constitution, Charter of Rights being rewritten in 1982, Charlottetown Accord. It stated Inuit, First Nations, Métis. So if that's so true, how come Métis aren't included? Or maybe I'm reading it wrong. Also, I wanted to state that because I come from the Inuit culture, we often are in minority in the south. We call it Napaktulik, means warmer weather, warmer climate. Napaktulit means no trees, because in the north we have no trees. It's so cold that trees don't grow there. That's how we identify the southerners. The other thing is going back to my culture. We often refer to Arnakwaksan, Utukkain, the old folks. The old folks were our guides because they were gentle, they were listened to. I remember my grandpa, my grandma, they were so gentle that we weren't scared of them. As little kids, we went to them when they said, come, kaigi, kaigi. We don't hear those words anymore. Why? Grandmothers would sit us beside them. They would give us tea and biscuit, whatever was available. The grandfathers would tell the little children to come on their laps. They would sit there. Grandfathers would be telling stories. Those stories are very important to the little ones as we grow, because that's how we remember what happened in the past from the stories we hear from the grandparents. So I will end it there, and I thank our organization. I belong to the Survivor Circle, the NCTR, and the other group. I wrote it down so I could say it right, because I have a terrible pronunciation in English. If it was written in Inuktitut, that would be just fine. But the other organization I'd like to thank and appreciate is the Office of the Independent Specialist on Interlocutor? Did I get it right? And I tell my colleague, my Inuit relations, Inuit people, and a lot of First Nation media, I tell them, I finally come to alive when I'm with the survivors, because it's pretty lonely sometimes without the survivors. It seems they understand me, and I understand them. So thanks a lot, and thank you very much, and we'll see you again sometime.
Thank you. And I want to say to you that the lawyer probably messed it all up. When I said the Mohawk mothers prevailed, you heard failed. They prevailed. They won. So I wanted you to be happy and enjoy that. It's all good. Now, we're going to have 20 seconds of remarks on behalf of the Isle La Croix, and then 20 seconds of remarks on behalf of the Mohawk mothers. So please, Jordan.
Yeah, for the record, to the kukum, to the grandmother that just spoke back there, I don't think anyone can pronounce interlocutor correct. But no, if we have, allies, people that want to support our survivors on their journey, and for the record, all of this work has been carried forward by the Isle La Croix Boarding School Committee, the Survivors Committee. Métis Nation Saskatchewan has been a supporting partner in this. These ones are really the ones who have been carrying the heavy load on all of this work. So you can go to number 4, survivors.ca, and there's their whole story. This long journey is all laid out there. And then there's also connections to the group if you have support for, we're getting on the journey of the ground penetrating search and searching for our unmarked burials and our missing babies. So, and then as well, any of the legal stuff, like any support is welcome, any kind words. I know our survivors are always happy to hear from their friends and new family and kin all around Turtle Island. So, hi, Naskumton.
Say that link one more time.
United for number 4, survivors.ca. Unitedforsurvivors.ca.
Thank you, Miigwech. Cantonada. Guatillo?
Okay, so this was a wonderful forum. Thank you for the Office of the Special Interlocutor. We were given this forum to share all of our information, our thoughts, our feelings, and everything. But if I can recommend, we have authors here from the Gutney Stansara and a wonderful anthropologist that put together a book, and it was a lot of work. They put together the Mohawk Warrior Society, a handbook on sovereignty and survival. And there is so much information in here that can help you to maybe understand yourself, because within our ways and within this book, it's a teaching not to take what is told to you at what it is. It's for you to use your mind that you were given by creation to interpret things the way you need to survive as a Ungwehungwe person. It's in bookstores, and actually we have 4 copies here if somebody wants to buy them. But it's a very, very useful tool, and it's great reading and great stories.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for working with us. We close on this note. There is much work to be done to teach the white man how to follow his own rules. Miigwech.
Well, on behalf of the Comanda family, our Algonquin allies and friends, and my personal friend, Joey Comanda, he was a 13-year-old boy from Pickawanagan, and on September 3rd, 1968, he was struck and killed by a commuter train in a Roncesvalles section of Toronto, just beneath what is called the Sunnyside Bridge. As I said yesterday, his death was not in vain, that it led to a formal investigation that led to the closure of the Mohawk Institute, and then subsequently the closure of schools across Canada. And so I contacted Mayor John Tory and worked with his Aboriginal staff, Selena Young, and of course with Kim, and we were able to effect the renaming of that bridge in honor of Joey Comanda. So sometime this year, we'll ask people to gather on the west side of Toronto, and in Canada's busiest highway. Whenever people go underneath that, they'll be reminded of the sacrifice that this 4'10", 90-pound boy made on behalf of us all. So look forward to that. And a special thanks to, again, Kim for enabling us to make this historical announcement. For my friend Joey, and for every one of the survivors and victims of the Mohawk Institute. Nyaukoa.